I'm 26 years old, and for most of my life I've been taking care of my family. When I was around 18 or 19, my grandparents and my dad passed away, and somehow most of the responsibility ended up on me. I had to get a job, help take care of my grandparents, and eventually deal with everything that came after they were gone. While I was trying to keep everything together, my mum and my younger brother mostly stayed at home. And that became the pattern for the next 8 years. Whenever there was a bill that needed to be paid, somehow I was the one expected to figure it out. If my mom needed money, I'd find a way. If something needed fixing, I'd find a way. There were even times when I was living on my own and still sending money home to help with her bills. I thought that's what family was supposed to do, so I kept doing it. But the more I helped, the more everyone seemed to depend on me. I'd get a job, I'd take another job, I'd sell something I owned. And somehow there was always another expense waiting for me. Meanwhile, my younger brother wasn't really helping with any of it. He spent most of his time in his room playing games and doing his own thing, and my mom kept telling me that she'd eventually figure everything out. I wasn't just working one job, either. There were times I picked up extra work just to make sure we could keep the lights on and the bills paid. I'd come home exhausted, only to realize there was still another problem waiting for me to solve. And after a while, I started wondering how long I could actually keep doing this. Then, finally, something happened that I actually felt good about. My brother got a job. I was genuinely happy for him. I thought maybe things were finally going to change. He told me he was planning to move out with his girlfriend in about 6 to 12 months. I had no problem with that. I just told him we needed a plan, because if he left, the bills couldn't keep being split 3 ways. But a week later, he did something I absolutely wasn't expecting. He moved out, just like that. There was no 6-month plan, no 12-month plan. He was simply gone. And when I pointed out that this left my mom and me responsible for his share of the bills, he got angry. I told him I was happy for him, but I also reminded him that leaving immediately meant his share of the bills was suddenly gone. Instead of understanding, he got angry. He called me an asshole. Then he told me to fuck off. And somehow, after 8 years of me helping keep that family afloat, he told me I didn't do shit. Then he cut me out of his life. And then he took my mom's car. For some reason, years earlier, she had put the car in his name, even though she had paid it off and was still paying for his insurance. Now she didn't even have a car to get to work, and somehow she still didn't really do anything about it. She just let him take it. With my brother gone, we suddenly had a serious problem. His share of the bills was gone, and our rent was already behind. And this wasn't even a new problem. My mom had already let some of her bills pile up for months without paying them. Now I was looking at the numbers and realizing there was no way I could keep carrying all of this by myself. I tried to get my mom to do something about it, but she gave me the same answer she'd been giving me for years. She'd sell something or borrow money from a neighbor. Except somehow that never actually happened. And I was starting to realize that if I kept fixing everything for them, nothing was ever going to change. That night, I was driving home from work, and I was completely fed up. I started looking at everything objectively. Even if I got another job, what would happen next month, and the month after that? I was already working 7 days a week. I could get a 3rd job, maybe even a 4th, but then I'd have no time for EMT school, and I'd have no chance of actually building a better life for myself. That's when I finally said to myself, fuck it, I'm not paying another penny. I remembered something. I'd had friends offer me a place to stay for a fraction of what I was paying at home. Utilities were included, and I wouldn't have to carry anyone else's bills. For the first time, I realized I actually had a way out, and there was one more thing that made the decision even easier. I wasn't on the lease. I checked it again just to make sure. My mom was on it. My brother was on it. My name wasn't anywhere. I wasn't a tenant. I wasn't a co-sigger. I wasn't responsible for the lease. After 8 years of feeling like I had to save everyone, I finally realized something. I didn't actually have to. So I made my decision. I wasn't going to spend the rest of my life working myself into the ground just to keep everyone else comfortable. I was going to leave. And for once, I was going to use my money to build a life for myself. I packed my things and left. I didn't take anything that wasn't mine. I didn't damage anything. I just took my belongings, got into my car, and walked away. For the first time in 8 years, I wasn't carrying the weight of everyone else's problems. Not long after I left, my phone started ringing. It was my mom. I knew exactly why she was calling. But this time, I wasn't going to come running back to fix everything. I told her I was done paying for expenses that weren't mine. She was going to have to figure things out for herself. And that's when things finally became their problem. The rent still had to be paid. The bills still had to be paid. The house still had to be cleaned out. Everything I'd been handling for years was suddenly sitting right in front of them. For once, nobody was coming to rescue them. And then there was the garage. My mom had spent years holding on to my grandparents' things, my dad's things, and basically anything she couldn't bring herself to throw away. The place was packed. She'd always said she'd sell everything eventually. But now that I was gone, somebody actually had to deal with it, and the rent deadline was getting closer. First, it was due on the 1st. Then they got an extension to the 5th, then the 8th, then the 15th. My mom was now talking about paying it on the 24th, and I knew that wasn't a plan. That was just delaying the problem. For the first time, my money was actually going toward my own future. I could focus on work, save money, and start preparing for EMT school. I wasn't getting richer overnight, but at least I was finally moving forward instead of spending my entire life trying to keep everyone else standing still. Eventually, they had to start making real plans. They had to figure out where they were going to live, how they were going to pay for it, and what they were going to do with everything they'd accumulated over the years. And for once, I wasn't there to make those decisions for them. That wasn't revenge. That was me finally refusing to be responsible for people who refuse to be responsible for themselves. I don't hate my family, but I finally understood that loving someone doesn't mean destroying yourself to keep them comfortable. For 8 years, I thought walking away made me selfish. Now I realize it was the first time I had actually chosen myself. Sometimes walking away isn't about revenge. Sometimes it's about finally realizing that you can't save people who refuse to save themselves. I spent 8 years putting my family first, and eventually I had to ask myself, "Tell me what happens if I finally put myself first?" Turnbull, I didn't lose my life by walking away. I finally got one. Remember this, helping your family is a good thing, but you shouldn't have to destroy your own future just to keep someone else comfortable. Know the difference between helping someone and carrying someone. You can love people without sacrificing your entire life for them.